いらっしゃいませ。最近はどう？
Salut! Bienvenue! Hello, and welcome to the Study Abroad Pod. Today, we'll be hearing from USAC alumni who studied abroad in Lyon, France, London, England, Seoul, Korea, and Nagasaki, Japan. Olivia, Dominic, Angelica, and Kaycee will share their advice on how you can prepare for your own international education adventure.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Colette Horton. I'm the Alumni Content Coordinator for USAC, the University Studies Abroad Consortium. I'm also a USAC Lyon alumna, and I am here today with 4 wonderful USAC alumni who have graciously joined me from the University of Nevada, Reno campus, or home, to tell us about their experiences abroad.
Hi, I'm Olivia Braun. I am a forest ecology and management major and French double major. I went to Lyon, France last spring of 2023. I went obviously because I'm a French major, but I did start learning French because of my dad. He always wanted to go abroad and learn it, and he loves French culture. So I ended up doing it for him, but I ended up really loving the language and the culture myself. So that was a good excuse for him to come visit me.
My name is Angelica Gutierrez. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a biology and French double major. I studied abroad on the USC campus of the Gwangju, South Korea program, and I studied abroad in the fall of 2022. So I actually studied abroad for 3 kind of big reasons. First was I have my own kind of goal of becoming a polyglot, and that's basically a person who speaks a lot of languages, basically 5 minimum. And when I heard about the Korean Intensive Language Program in YSU, I knew it was perfect because I really wanted to learn Korean. And I also wanted to teach English in Korea in the future once I've graduated. So I thought it would be a really good way to kind of expose myself to the culture and, learn the language before I get there so I'm not lost. And the last reason I think is just because I really love K-pop and K-dramas. So I really love the culture. So I just really wanted to go.
Hi, I'm Dominic. I am a business management major and a sports management minor. I went to London Metropolitan University in last spring, so 2023. The reason why I went abroad was because me and my dad used to wake up every morning on the weekends and go downstairs and watch soccer together. So I was kind of immersed in the culture, or the soccer/football culture, and I really wanted to experience it myself. So that was a big reason I went to London.
My name is Kaycee Carlin, and I was an international business major, Japanese minor, but I just graduated last semester. So, yay!
Congratulations!
Thank you. I've been studying Japanese for about 10 years on my own. This year would mark 10 years.
Oh.
But yeah, so obviously I really wanted to go to Japan, and I had never been before. So that was a huge motivator for me to go abroad. But also I just saw going abroad as a student just a really good way to spend an extended period of time in a different country while I'm still younger. I don't have a full-time job yet. So I just thought that it would be a great time to do that and be able to study Japanese in Japan. I just thought that would be so cool. And I was right. It was super immersive. I've taken university classes here and they were really great. Don't get me wrong, but something about being able to study it while you're there and can use it directly after. Oh my goodness. I totally recommend.
It sounds like you all share some similar motivations, exploring, testing out new living environments. So let's start by talking about your preparation for study abroad, academic planning, scholarship applications. Do you have any packing tips for students who are prepping now?
I did a lot of research before I went. It was recommended from my program advisor to figure out and watch videos on how the public transportation system works, because it's one of the best in the world. Through the city, and it was really nice. It was really helpful because getting from the airport to your student accommodation, you had to take public transportation. So it was really nice to kind of understand how it worked beforehand. And Oh God, everything's a lot smaller in London. Like you can see pictures and like imagine it, but then when you get there, you're like, okay, my room is really small. Like fits like 3 people max, but
Oh, wow.
it was really nice. So just kind of, I don't know, everything was a lot smaller. And then the last thing I would say to kind of prepare for and kind of get when you're there, like right as you land, is just cash like 1 pound coins. Because like if you're out in central London and you need to go to the bathroom, you need to pay to use the public restroom. And it's, yeah, not good if you really have an emergency.
Yeah, I would also say that for me, it was really important before I left to stay in contact with my academic advisor. I have 2 majors, so while I was going for French, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to delay my forced ecology major. So that was really important for me. And then applying for scholarships, obviously, my parents said I could go as long as I applied for scholarships. So that was super important for my family and definitely feasible through USAC. And something I did end up earning and using, so super helpful. And also, if I could do it again, I would reach out to alumni, which is something that USAC does, put students in contact with, like alumni who've gone to their programs, just to ask them questions and see what they experienced, what they would do again if they could. And I've talked to people who have come in wondering about Lyon, and I think it's super helpful, and I wish I'd done it, but we're here now.
So I did a lot of language prep for myself because, Korea has a whole different alphabet. So I was very, very intimidated by that before I went. So I learned Hangul, which is the Korean alphabet. Really helped me get around with the buses and, all that kind of stuff, which is really nice. So I learned a lot of basic phrases, how to get to the bathroom, things like that. Just so I wouldn't get lost. I also did a lot of research on social norms and like the culture because it's a very, very different culture from here in America. And I didn't want to offend anybody and I didn't realize I was offending somebody, so I really wanted to make sure I was doing that. And then I also did a lot of scholarship applications. I ended up getting some scholarships here from USAC, and that really made everything a possibility for me to go abroad. So I definitely recommend people check out the scholarship application. In terms of packing tips, I would say that there's some things that you don't really realize when you go abroad. There's for example, outlets, to plug in your phones. They're different in every country, and I didn't realize that until I watched a YouTube video before I left. Another thing also is this is kind of not really talked about a lot, but in terms of if you're someone who wears makeup, maybe your country doesn't have your shade. In Korea, there wasn't really any shades for my skin color, so it was really, really great that I brought some. So that's just something you gotta keep in mind, and research on your own. Yeah, that's what I would say.
So I heard everyone mention a little bit about scholarships, and I'm a huge advocate for it. One of the big things for me going abroad when I talked to my parents about it was that if it was even a penny over, they weren't going to help me whatsoever. So that very much so motivated me to not just apply for scholarships, but to start getting really creative with it. I recommend applying for external scholarships. I actually found a whole list on USAC's website. They have an area where you can find them. So that's from third parties that you would be getting the scholarships from, able to use for your study abroad. And just get creative with it. I mean, there's scholarships for the specific country you're going to, in my instance, Japan. There's scholarships if you're going to be learning a language over there. And there's even scholarships for your heritage if you come from a certain background. So get creative when looking for scholarships. I applied to as many as I could, even some where I didn't quite meet the eligibility requirement, but it was kind of close. And I thought maybe they'd be cool about it, and they were. And I was actually able to get such a large portion of my study abroad covered that my family was like, oh my goodness, could you do this every term? So it does take a little bit of work to look into when it comes to like doing the essays and all of that, but just block out a little time for it and it'll be so worth it. So I really recommend looking into that before going abroad.
That is really great advice. The USAC page has, like I think several of you mentioned, a huge list of scholarships. One thing I always recommend students do is to just start with a list like that and look at the eligibility requirements, export it into a doc or something and just cross off everything that doesn't apply to you, because it can be overwhelming. I know that it can be overwhelming. But like Kaycee said, there's so many niche scholarships out there, and a lot of different schools have study abroad offices that can help you filter through or help you with your essays. But yes, apply. One other thing I really love about USAC from my time abroad was that they have the budget sheet, which made it a lot easier for me to plan. I know I hear that from other students too. Just that having the breakdown of estimated costs really can help parents see the cost of studying abroad, right? They've got an estimate for meals, transportation, and housing for each program. So that brings us to our next topic, housing. So let's talk about your living situations abroad.
Yeah, mine was like more of like it was like a dorm / student apartment. So you're in like one apartment with like 5 other people, but everybody had their own room and like sink and everything like that. And there was no like RAs or anything. So it was very much like independent, and all the USAC kids were on the same floor. So it was really easy to like just walk out into the hallway and there's like a bunch of kids from your program. So it was really easy to meet people. And then like throughout the entire building, there was a bunch of like local kids that were just going to London Met. And it was really easy to like meet people and kind of get entangled in like the culture and things like that with the housing.
I had a similar experience. In France, I stayed in a residence hall with international students and French students. But it was like everyone was combined on the floors. USAC students were throughout the whole building. So you had less of an opportunity. You had to mingle, I guess, was the plan. And that was really good because I did end up meeting a couple French people that my friends and I would go out with in the evening. So that was really great for the cultural aspect of my study abroad. But my room was super small. I could touch both walls if my hands were extended. So it was super tiny, but it made me realize how little I actually need. It was the perfect size. It got me actually out of my room and into the city and traveling because I didn't want to be in that small room the whole time. But I just thought it was perfect. I had a little window to the garden. I could look out and there were cats out there sometimes and it was super peaceful. I loved it.
For me, I stayed in a 6-person dorm on campus. And honestly, it really sounds crowded, but for me, it was like the best part of my entire experience. I really, really loved it. I was actually roomed with my sister, and we went to study abroad together.
That's so cool.
It was, yeah, it was amazing having her there. She was really supportive. But I got to meet all the other exchange students there because we were all roomed together. We also had a Korean roommate with us too, and she was just amazing. Like anytime we needed help translating things or like we didn't know where to go or like how to go to the bank, like things like that, like she would help us, which I'm really glad that she ended up rooming with us. And just being in a 6-person dorm, I felt like we were getting so close so quickly. Like I didn't feel nervous or anything with them. Like it felt like we had our own kind of little family. We would go down and eat meals together, play games, walk to school, walk to class together. So I definitely feel like it's one of those options that a lot of people like don't like kind of stray away from, but I honestly would not have changed it for the world.
Kaycee, were you in a dorm as well?
So yes, but I feel like it was kind of a mix of a dorm, an apartment, and a homestay. And I feel like I have to explain that. But it was kind of similar to like, think of a hotel. Like everyone has their own little room going down. And in the dorm that I was in, it was arranged by the university and it was an all girls dorm area. And there were about 70 girls that lived in it. It was like 5 stories tall. It was a lot of girls. And about half of the girls were Japanese girls. And then the other half were international students from all over the world. So I think there was one other American girl, Norway, Australia. Like it was so cool to be mixed together like that. And then the homestay aspect comes by the dorm was run by an older couple. They're so sweet. And we would always call them like the host parents, like, oh, host mom came down and talked to me. And we got 2 meals a day. And they were cooked in the little kitchen area by these older Japanese ladies. So sweet. They'd always ask about our day, ask how we were doing. And you got to choose in the morning. They'd be like, oh, would you like Japanese food or Western style food? So you got to choose that day. And so for the first few months, I was like, oh, Japanese food. It's like, Japanese food, I'm in Japan. But then once I started to like miss my family a little bit, I was like, Western style a couple times. And I remember there was this one instance, it was around the holidays, the US holidays. And my parents are a little bit older. So every holiday that I spend with them, that sounds so dark. Every holiday that I spend with them, I'm just like, oh, this is so nice. I love my family. But my dad had sent me a picture of him and he was like, first time you're not here to celebrate Thanksgiving. Why would he do that? So I was a little bit, I know. I was a little bit sad that day. But one of the ladies in the kitchen noticed. So cute. So she made me this American style dish that she had made. She'd never been to America or anything, but it was like a little ham sandwich with like egg salad and like a little salad on the side and like cute little pickle shapes. And she was like, to remind you of home. It was so cute. And it just felt like at that moment, I was like, oh my goodness, like someone cares about me, even though I'm all the way across the world. So I sent back to my dad a picture and I was like, it's okay, I'm eating American too or something. And he loved it. It was so funny, but it was such a cool experience. And all those girls in that dorm, they were my best friends the whole time. And we still talk now. And I've seen them a couple times since, a couple of the girls.
That is so sweet. I love that. What were some like cultural differences that you guys noticed? I mean, obviously the food is different in another country, but were there any challenges that you faced or, you know, with like the politeness, like Angelica talked about? There's a lot of different cultural norms. How did you guys adapt? How did you approach that? Do you have any funny stories?
Whoa. So I went in 2022 and it was the first time that Japan had opened up for exchange students since it had been closed borders. And so immediately just getting there, everything was so new, right? And I just want to mention that Japan is a very homogenous society. I think 98% of people that live there are Japanese. And this was my first time. I mean, I've grown up in America, been in America my whole life, but it was my first time that I wasn't part of the majority. And so being there, you know, people would stare at me walking and it was my first time, you know, having that happen. So I was wondering like, oh my goodness, like, am I dressed weird? Like, is something weird? Like, am I not being polite? Am I doing something wrong? Because there are a lot of social norms in Japan that aren't explained. They're not outwardly said. It's just something that you know from when you're a child and everybody knows it and everybody's doing it. But I haven't been there since then, so I don't really know. But yeah, I remember so that was my image, was just like, oh my goodness, is there something wrong? Am I doing something wrong? So I remember buying like all these clothes and doing all the makeup and like, okay, like I kind of, no. But I realized that wasn't it at all. I had one instance where I had gone to this like cat cafe where you can pet cats while you drink a little coffee or something. And the hostess was nice, but I could tell that she was a little like scared of me. And I was like, oh my goodness, why is she scared? But I went and sat with a kitty and was petting him. And she came back over. She was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry about earlier. And I was like, oh, no, it's fine. And this was in Japanese. And she said, I was just really worried because I don't speak English. And I was worried that I would have to express that to you. And I didn't know how. Oh my goodness, she felt so bad. And I don't know, it made me realize that for a lot of Japanese people, they haven't had that interaction with a foreigner as much. So as the stares and the talking wasn't coming from a place of malice. It was just coming from a place of, I don't have this experience. So having that experience myself so early on in my study abroad, I think enabled me to be the one to reach out and to give people a positive experience and talk with a foreigner, have a good time, and be more comfortable, because I had so many questions and wanted to know so many things. But I don't know, it just really opened my eyes to that, and it made the rest of my study abroad just way more enjoyable, not worrying, what do people think about me? Is it something? Wasn't that at all. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I experienced a similar surprise with French people when I would speak French when I was studying abroad. Olivia, did you have kind of a similar experience where you met with surprise? What was your reception in Lyon?
I would say yes. I think that's maybe where we get the stereotype from that French people are mean in America, because they're not initially inviting, especially when you're speaking English to them. But I came to realize that it's really important to be humble and not overly confident about assuming French people speak your language. You're in their country. It's important to try to speak their language, even if you don't know, even if you're not fluent or even like partially fluent. It's good to say hi in their language, and that makes a world of difference. I really tried to push myself to be uncomfortable a lot of the time, and that's how I grew the most, because a lot of the times it was awkward and I wasn't saying things right, and they weren't as forgiving, I feel like, as other cultures are, maybe even we are in the US. But I grew a lot from that, and I gained confidence, and I developed a thicker skin for being in French culture. And I think that's super important when you are in France, at least to try.
Yeah, that was a huge thing I noticed as well, especially when smiling to people. It was odd to smile to people on the street, whereas if you're walking in small town America, you might have everybody say good morning, how you doing, honey? It's very casual, very informal, and very visibly smiley. But sometimes if I was, walking in Lyon and smiled at, someone with a baby or an older woman, they'd be like, are you looking at me? Like, it was odd, but it wasn't wrong. It's just a very different culture, a more reserved culture, I would say. Lastly, I would love to hear about your travel stories. That's one thing that students are always interested in doing when they go abroad. They want to maximize their time abroad. Oh, you're already going to, the flight's expensive, right? Especially if you're going across an ocean, either to Asia or to Europe or Africa or any of the locations around the world. People want to maximize that time and travel while they're there, either in the host country or to countries near there. Do you guys have any travel stories that you'd like to share?
I as anybody who's gone to Europe knows, it's expensive to go, get there, but once you're there, it's super cheap to travel, to anywhere. So yeah, I got to, my school schedule was really flexible. So I got to go to Scotland and Spain. I got to go to Paris. And then for spring break, we went to Sicily and went on the beach because it was still really cold in London. So we got to go to Sicily and spend time on an Italian beach, and it was really awesome. But yeah.
I traveled all over the place when I was in France. I went to Switzerland. I went to Spain. I went to Italy, just for weekends or when there was spring break or whatever. Just to travel there and stay there was not expensive at all. One instance I remember is when one of my best friends came to visit me. He was in the 101st Airborne Division in the military, and he really wanted to see Normandy, where that same division dropped during World War II. So we went there, and it was such a huge moment for him. I just think creating those memories with the people you care about is one of the biggest parts about studying abroad for me, because those memories don't go away, and we still talk about it today, just everything we did there. So totally worth it, in my opinion.
I actually had a lot of great experiences traveling, mostly within Korea. I couldn't really go anywhere else. I wanted to go to Japan, but it was closed at the time. But while I was in Korea, I went a lot of places with the other exchange students. There were 7 of us in total at our location. So we became friends really, really quickly. And so we were just let's go travel, guys, like together. Let's go to Busan, let's go to Seoul, and we went to like a lot of landmarks, and we even went to an amusement park. And we just spent a lot of time together, which was really, really awesome. And we made a lot of, memories together. I also went to some locations with my sister, just us two. We really wanted to, create those moments where, it was stuff that me and her can remember together. One of them was a BTS event, which was awesome. We love BTS, so we had to go. I actually
And BTS
also
is a K-pop group, right?
yeah. For anyone
Okay.
who doesn't
Yeah, just for
know.
those who aren't, in the inner circle of K-popdom.
Yeah.
BTS, look them up.
Yeah, they're amazing. I definitely recommend their music. But we really, really like them, so we really wanted to go to an event for them. So we went. My brother actually also came to visit from the States for about a week, and we just traveled all over Seoul, just going to places, just going to cafes, eating good food. I had to show him, Korean fried chicken, best thing ever, number one thing you got to do. I also got to show him my campus and meet all of my friends and my teachers. And it was really, really amazing to get to share that experience with him, even if it was for only a week. But I think he was also very motivated to continue traveling after he came to visit us. So I think, study abroad, rubs off on people, and I really it was just amazing.
I was kind of in a similar boat as Angelica, especially being on Japan, and I really wanted to go to Korea, so it's kind of like that, but it was sort of the same situation. But I think the thing with Japan is it's actually smaller than California, so it is really easy to travel to a lot of places just for like day trips or even just a couple days. I think that a lot of people would say like, go to Tokyo, go to Osaka, and that's great. And I totally recommend that you go to some of the biggest cities. But I think that what's slept on is Japan's wildlife. They have some phenomenal wildlife, and you can only find some of the species in Japan. I think one of the most well-known ones is Nara Park. It's actually only 30 to 40 minutes outside of like Nishinomiya, our Nishinomiya program. So that's one I went on. So the deer run that city. They are everywhere. They're in the streets. They are walking around, and you can just pet them and feed them little snacks. And it's so much fun.
Oh my goodness.
And they're such a cute shape too. Like they're different from deer here. I don't know. They're so cute. They're like round.
Like sheep?
And yeah, kind of. And what's something else? Oh my goodness. They also have the Japanese snow monkeys. They're also very cute and round. But yeah, you can go and just like go to these different parks that have them. You can find those in northern Japan, or you can even find them once again by like the Nishinomiya program. I think like an hour outside, you can go visit the monkeys and feed them and hang out with them and watch them. I don't know. It's just so cool because you would never be able to see that anywhere else. So that's something I really recommend, is just taking those trips outside of the city a little bit and just seeing things that you would not be able to see anywhere else in the world. And also, if you go to Japan, ride a bullet train. People will always tell you that, but oh my goodness, it's so much fun. And also, another pro tip, order your tickets online so you can just print them out the day of and you don't have to wait in line. And get on the bullet train, enjoy, eat a little snack, and just see Japan. Like, you can see the whole country in a couple hours. It's crazy. So, perfect place to travel.
That sounds amazing. So for today, I think we're going to end on that super high note. I now want to go see snow monkeys in Japan. I don't know about the rest of you. But thank you so much, all of you, for joining me today. This is the first episode of many more to come. As we draw this episode to a close, I just want to express my gratitude to all of you for being here. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for listening to the Study Abroad Pod, a podcast brought to you by University Studies Abroad Consortium. Please listen, subscribe, and review us on Buzzsprout or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow USAC on all your favorite social media channels at Study Abroad USAC, and if you have an idea for a future episode or you want to learn more about study abroad, you can email us at studyabroad@usac.edu.